In the studio, it is Omarr Peters. And Omarr, good morning to you, sir. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know how you've escaped the show this far, but I'm glad you are here. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, raised in the great city of Macomb,
Yes, sir.
son of a former non-denominational bishop, graduates from Mississippi College in 2019, majored in political science, minored in history, and for a long time was pro-choice. But when you make a turn this sharp right, it has to be a call from God somewhere or the other. But explain what happened from your pro-choice days. And as a young man, especially what kind of, I'm curious about this. Mm-hmm. You go to Mississippi College, your father is a non-denominational bishop, and apparently was the household pro-choice?
I wouldn't say the household was pro-choice. My mother was pro-life, and it kind of gets into my own pro-life story because my pro-life story started out when, in 2016, there was a presidential candidate, as you very well know, that said late-term abortions were okay. And even though I was pro-choice at the time, I said, well, I don't think this is right. So I started asking questions. Someone you've had on this show many times, Professor Glenn Antizzo, talked with me about it. And one thing about Dr. Antizzo, he never taught that his bias was correct, that his way was correct. He just gave you simple facts and let you decide what side of the issue you're going to be on. And I really appreciated that from him. So after talking with him, after talking with my mother, whose family member had a situation with abortion, I decided it was time for me to take up the mantle and fight against abortion.
Yeah, but you just didn't change your political philosophy. You became active in this, and that's taking it to another step.
Actually, I did change my political philosophy. I used to be a Democrat. I used to be liberal, and I changed my political philosophy. My parents were non-denominational. They still are. I actually became a Pentecostal. So I changed, not necessarily religiously, but...
I understand, but how hard was that for you, just on a personal basis, with your friends, the people you were with?
I lost a lot of friendships. Some friendships I still kept, but it's almost like it's coordinated when we see each other and when we do talk. Some have said, hey, I can't be your friend on Facebook, but we can be friends in person, which that's okay. They don't like my posts. I don't like theirs either. We've come to a mutual understanding. But
it's one of those things that I do not understand,
right.
And we can be open and apostolic here because I don't understand it. How in the world can a people whose population has been decimated, both financially, physically, and spiritually, still by a very, very large majority, pledge their loyalty to a party that's done all of this to them? And the only thing I can come, and please forgive me if I'm off track here, but the only way that I can come to that conclusion, because if it were mathematics, then you got to find the right equation for this and the right total at the end of the number. But the only way you can do this is to say that the Democrat Party, in their inculcation and their indoctrination over the many, many decades, knew exactly what they were doing. And then you look at someone like you who's broken out of this, and that is through parenting, two-parent family, and education. And then you got to say, well, wait a minute. The only way that a people will still believe this, after all of these generations, the only way a people will submit to this type of contrary to their own well-being is that they have to be kept barefoot, pregnant, and stupid. And that happens in schools. So if that's the logical thing, and I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying if that's the case, then our terrible schools out there in public education is by design so that more and more African Americans will not see what they're doing and get out of it. Is that a logical conclusion?
Well, what I'll say on that, and I know with Students for Life, I can't comment as much on politics as I want to, but what I will say is that people have been lied to. The African American community has been lied to by folks in the Democratic Party. And don't get me wrong, there are pro-life Democrats that Students for Life works with. Katrina Jackson is an amazing pro-life Democrat, and we love working with her and people like her. But by and large, the Democratic Party, especially folks in the abortion industry, they've lied to the black community for years. Started even before Lyndon Johnson, but Lyndon Johnson was the tip of the iceberg, I like to say, in his Great Society plans, disincentivizing marriage and the two-parent household, getting fathers out of the home. Once that happened, plus my personal thing, and this is me saying this personally, prayer out of schools. Once they took those two out of the picture, all bets are off.
I do want to say, and again, Omarr has something called Students for Life, and it started off with just a little ember, but man, it is catching fire.
Yes.
I want to play one soundbite for you, and I don't know who this is. I think she is a college professor, African-American lady, but the contents in it is so disheartening, and I think it fits this topic.
What has happened over the last 50 years is a narrative has seeped in that they are born poor, so they're going to die poor in America, and that poverty is somebody else's fault. So they keep this narrative of racism alive. They begin to build within themselves a discouragement, and they don't think then they can mainstream. The American dream for some did end when the war on poverty began, and in particular it's hit our poorest, our weakest, which disproportionately hits black people, because when you buy the lie that government will take care of you, then you're not going to move into self-sufficiency, and you get then trapped. And when government then begins to reward you for ill behaviors, you are really stuck. It's hard to get out of welfare. I was in there, and I'm telling you, it is very difficult. Once you get in and you find out about all of the other services available, you're committing social suicide to try to escape. Plus, you're also committing a little bit of economic discomfort, because once you leave, your life can become a little bit harder.
Wow. How closely related is it? Most people say, pull up yourself by your own bootstraps and go. And she puts it in real terms. It's almost like heroin. And ain't that easy to get out?
No, it's not. I know people, and I've seen it firsthand in the public school system. I went to public school here in the state, in Macomb. And it is hard to get out of, but you can do it, and people are there to support you, especially if you're pregnant and parenting.
If every child, African-American child in schools, graduated with a scholarship to a major university, what would happen to the Democrat base in the next 20 years? Think about that. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, because I want you to kind of tell the folks what's happening with Students for Life and where it is now, where it came from, and where it's going when we come back with Omarr Peters, Students for Life of America. More important now among the young people and everybody else than it's ever been before, Dobbs. So hang on, that's coming up. Back in the Trustmark Studios with Omarr. Tell me a little bit about Students for Life. How did it start, and where were the beginnings of this thing?
Students for Life of America is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to abolishing abortion in law, both in law and in service. Students for Life of America is under the parent organization Students for Life Action, which does the law part and the legal lobby and political door knocking. And Students for Life for America, we're educational based, so we go out and we just talk about the issue of abortion, how it kills a child every time, how it harms women, harms the community, things of that nature. It started about 16 years ago when someone approached someone that worked for the Bush administration, Miss Kristen Hawkins, who is our president and has been for the past 16 years, about starting this group. So she took mentorship from the co-founder for 40 Days for Life, David B. Wright, and started out with just a few simple staff members. Now we're, near 100 staff members strong all across the country.
How about them?
I personally am over Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. So I go around to the schools there talking with students, trying to get them to convert to the pro-life message, but also building up students and building up that community among my student groups. Training them, mobilizing them on how they can be better pro-life activists.
Are you a little bit sometimes amazed at what they don't know? You see the expression on their face when you start talking and answering their questions.
Yes, and I'm also amazed at how strong people's convictions are here in the South. Even if you're pro-choice, you are strong in your convictions, but you cannot deny the science. The science proves that when both parts become one, a unique human life has begun. Your DNA is created, your eye color, hair color, your gender, even though you won't find that out until about 15 weeks. All of that has already been decided. So the science proves it. Philosophically, we are right. Philosophically, we are morally right. And then we are a secular organization, so we don't really put in our faith unless we're personally asked about it. But our faith
Omarr,
is important.
Do you think that the preachers out there, white or black for that matter, are doing a good job?
No. No,
It's really sad.
There are preachers that are, whether black, white, Hispanic, Asian, that are doing the good work and are spreading the pro-life message and standing up for life. There are, but by and large, I don't think the church has done enough. If the church did do enough, Roe versus Wade would have never happened.
Is there anywhere when this is one of those weird things, because if you showed the process of what we're talking about in no other narrative or mission can you talk about it but not show it, because showing it is too horrific. Do you ever sit down and ask somebody, have you ever seen what goes on? You as a young lady, maybe 15 or 16 or 17 weeks pregnant or whatever, but when you go in there, whatever you do, if it's a boy or a girl, that's part of you. That's your child, and you are going to be terminating it. And if you want to use the word terminated because it makes you feel better, fine, but you're going to be killing part of you.
I'll tell you what, we have what is called a campus tour, which is during the fall and in the spring. They're different every semester. And there are big events that we put on, big educational events that we do at the table. In 2021, leading up to Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, we had what was called the See Me Now tour, which had a bus component, so we did a live ultrasound with speakers as well. During that tour, we had small virtual reality goggles where they got to see 2 videos at the table. They got to see the development of a baby and dismemberment abortion, which is also called surgical abortion, which it was cartoon, don't get me wrong. But they saw piece by piece, and they had a former abortionist, now a pro-life doctor, can't remember who it was. It might have been Dr. Lupino. But he explained the process, and you got to see a lot of minds change with that, because some people just don't actually know what goes on.
Is your organization gearing up for post-Dobbs now, or the Dobbs decision? Tell me, what are you guys doing?
Now, the misconception by pro-choicers is that you all can't support these children, you all can't support women. Yes, we can. We've been doing it we in the pro-life community have been doing that for 49 years, and even before that. What our organization does, we have a website called standingwithyou.org, which our Standing With You initiative talks about Title IX rights, but also standingwithyou.org is a directory where women can go on there and look up their resources within their communities. And this is nationwide. So we have resources in all 50 states, CPCs or pregnancy resource centers, places like Pro-Life Mississippi, which I sit on the state board of directors for, just to name a few of the resources that we have here.
How does birth control measures play into the organization?
I will say this about birth control. We are against the morning after pill because it's about intent. You're intentionally killing a child. It is, to my belief, that if you're 16, you've never had sex before, and you decide to get on birth control, it's a tad bit different from doing the act and then taking the morning after pill. That's really our opinion on it, and we don't talk much about that after that. I do want to say this because I do sit on the board of Pro-Life Mississippi. They're a statewide organization that helps the mother, especially after she gives birth. They have resources available for women. They're about all life issues, euthanasia as well.
Do they also help out with the possible if she wants to give that baby up for adoption?
Yes.
Okay,
and there are other organizations like Lifeline that are here in the state that are committed to adoption and things of that nature. But one announcement about Pro-Life Mississippi: they are doing a Walk for Life. September 17th, they're doing it in 3 locations: Grenada, here in the Jackson area, which it'll be at the main office in Flowood, and also it'll be on the Gulf Coast. If you look on prolifemississippi.org, you'll be able to find the information and sign up and register for that. That is September 17th, and here it'll be at about 10 o'clock here in the Jackson area in Flowood.
I got you.
But that was a quick announcement about them. They'll give me if I don't say anything.
If you want more information, then you can go to the website. It's all there.
And if you want more information about Students for Life, you go to studentsforlife.org. If you want to donate, we have donation links on there. And we need your support. All of these organizations need your support.
Omarr, good to meet you, sir. God bless you on your mission.
Thank you.
I just hope other people come around and see what you're doing is to their benefit. And hopefully sooner or later they'll do that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.